Don Yates has been called in to advise on police reforms. Bill Law is in Bahrain for Newsnight.
Nightly clashes in the tiny Gulf Island kingdom of Bahrain.
Every night, on a daily basis, protesters go out on the streets protesting and calling for freedom, for democracy, and for the downfall of the dictators in Bahrain.
Majority Shia Muslims are demanding reform in a country ruled by a Sunni king. With Shia Iran just across the Gulf, growing sectarian tensions here have the potential to plunge the country and the region into unprecedented violence. Driving through the wealthy heart of the capital, Manama, there are few signs of unrest. It's very easy to miss the deep divisions in this society. But in the year I've been away, this country's been torn apart. It's exactly a year to the day since the Arab Spring reached Bahrain. Activists inspired by uprisings across the region took over Pearl Roundabout in the capital. Within days, there was a bloody response. The square was cleared, but the protesters returned. Under intense pressure to end the occupation, King Hamad invited in Saudi troops, and a brutal crackdown followed. But Bahrain's key ally, the United States, with its Fifth Fleet based in the country, pressured the king to end the crackdown. He appointed a panel of international human rights experts, headed by the Egyptian Sharif Bassiouni. His report, released in November, catalogued systematic torture, excessive use of force, and the sacking of thousands of workers. Almost all the victims were Shia. And this is why the government is keen to reassure its allies.
Some hospitality suites on the top. We have the paddock club here under the tents.
Formula One is massive here. Because of the unrest, last year's race was cancelled. 29 Shia employees at Formula One were arbitrarily sacked. Zayed Al-Zayani is chairman of the company that runs Formula One here. He says mistakes were made, but it's time for the country to move on.
These employees' charges were dropped, and His Majesty ordered them to be taken back. We opened our arms with full confidence, and we welcomed them all back, and they are back.
But the trades union movement, protesting here outside the Ministry of Labour, disputes the account given by Formula One chiefs. It says that 5 have not been invited back. And the Formula One sackings were not the only ones. More than 3,000 workers in the public and private sectors lost their jobs.
We still have more than 1,000 workers dismissed and sacked and suspended. All workers, both in private and public sector, should be reinstated instantly, unconditioned, without any kind of conditions, and with dignified reinstatement.
The country's security forces were heavily criticized in the Bassiouni report, but the police were keen to give us their side of the story. We were invited to follow an elite unit.
Now, my friend, they throw the gas and the Molotov. Molotov.
The police took us to several villages where they encountered makeshift roadblocks and angry young demonstrators. 5 police officers and nearly 60 civilians have died since the uprising began. Human rights organizations have attributed 12 of those deaths to the heavy and inappropriate use of tear gas.
No. How we can beat them? We just have our shield and have the gas, and that's it. That's what, and we have flashbang. This all what we have here.
Here all opening.
But this woman in a Shia village tells a different story.
Yeah, this is cold. Yeah, fired. All the house will be full of gases.
Haria Abbas says her mother died after police fired tear gas into the home she shares with 2 other families.
She was here. She was here lying, and we tried to cover whole this area and this area, so no other smoke will come inside, but no use of this. She already passed away.
The police told me if it happened, it was an accident. They would not deliberately fire tear gas into a house. Deliberate or otherwise, this incident and others like it have scarred relations between the police and the people. Pictures are all that Amina has left of her 18-year-old son, Mohammed Yaqub. He was arrested on the 25th of January. A few hours later, he was dead. The police say he died of natural causes. His family believe he died because of a beating he received, a charge the police strongly reject. But there was no independent autopsy.
I told them I'll wait here for my son and take him to the hospital because he'll be a bit tired. The officer said, your son is unwell. We will have to take him to the police hospital. I said, if he's tired, give him to me and I will take him to the hospital. Why would you want to take him to the hospital? I am his mother. He said that it's not possible. We will take him to the police hospital. You go home now and we will call you to come and collect him. He just kept repeating that. I wasn't expecting it to end in his death, that my son could die.
I've been brought out here by the government, by the King, to advise on many areas of police reform, predominantly the CID.
In a surprise career move, John Yates, Scotland Yard's former Assistant Commissioner, arrived in Bahrain last month to help reform the police.
I think the government have made excellent progress here in terms of implementing some of the things immediately, like the removal of arrest powers from the NSA, clearly crucial. The other issues will take time, and you cannot expect wholesale reform to take place in a matter of weeks. You know, some of this stuff, human rights training for 20,000 police officers is an immense undertaking.
I've spoken to people who have told me that they would take it. This has happened in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. Picked up, taken to unofficial sites or police areas that have not been officially recognized, I suppose, as police stations, beaten, tortured, they say. Yeah. And I can tell you the sites exactly. Yeah. Bahrain Youth Hostel, municipal buildings in Demistan, and the racing club and Bani Jamri. This is happening, they tell me, now. So the present is, and these are issues about...
You're lobbying those things into me now, and if those things have happened, then there's a proper procedure where they need to make their complaints. It'll be addressed and it will be investigated if that's the case. There's an awful lot, though, not doubting the veracity of what you just said, there's an awful lot of mischief on these social media sites.
On a plot of ground on the edge of Manama that the protesters call Freedom Square, the crowd are demanding the king step down. The leaders of Wafaq, the main Shia opposition party, urge restraint. But many wonder if they can contain the anger. But to understand the depth of that anger, you need to leave behind the glittering towers of Manama and head into poor Shia villages. Communities like Sitra. It's known among activists as the Isle of Martyrs, because many of those who've died in this uprising have come from here.
If you want to understand the deep divisions that exist in this country, you come to a place like this. This is a poor Shia community. The streets are strewn with rubbish, and the walls are plastered with anti-government slogans. This one here says, "Down, down with King Hamad." Talk about,
Zainab al-Hawaj's father, Abdul Hadi, was jailed for life for allegedly plotting to overthrow the government. A leading human rights campaigner herself, she rejects the idea that the opposition is responsible for sectarian tension.
What's sectarian about Bahrain is the government who's trying to divide and conquer. The revolution here is not a sectarian one. It's one demanding democracy and freedom for everyone.
Okay, but the government is saying, look, sit down, talk with us. Again, I say, why not?
We have done that before. In 2001 there was a dialogue, but what we realized with these dictators is that every time they make promises and they break them, and we're still paying the price for having a dialogue with them in 2001. And that's why the people here, they don't believe what the government says. They want to see change.
At Friday prayers, the country's most senior Shia cleric, Sheikh Isa Hassan, calls for peaceful protest. But his sermons are ratcheting up the tension. With our souls and blood, they chant, we sacrifice for you, Bahrain. At a pro-government rally in Manama, Bahraini Shia are seen as the enemy. Wafaq is condemned as a party that would turn the country over to Iran.
We are just Bahraini people. We're not with Iran and we're not with anyone else. We are pure Bahrainis.
We want reforms in Bahrain, this is what we're saying, but then we also want the government to remain. It's not about the removal of the government. We just want to all live in peace as one in this country, and that's why we're here.
America is anxious. Bahrain is a strategic defense partner, and instability here represents a serious threat to U.S. interests in the region.
The United States for 60 years has considered Bahrain an important strategic ally. We have our 5th fleet here. This is a region where we have real security concerns. That relationship needs to go forward in a constructive and a positive way. But we also want a stable society here, and one where people are functioning freely and the society is thriving.
This is the outcome.
I spoke to the country's justice minister and asked him if the two sides in this conflict can be reconciled.
His Majesty already said that the doors are open. The government said the doors are open. Now there are lots of work going on to bring people together. And it is unfortunate, really, while these positive gestures that have always been disseminated since the beginning of the problem and call for dialogue has always been met by shunning away, by boycotting, by even provocation that really amounts to a crime of incitement to violence.
As night falls, the daily ritual of protest and violence in the villages starts up all over again. The police say they've taken on board the criticisms leveled at them. And 1 year on, as the anger builds, time is running out for this tiny country sitting on a dangerous sectarian fault line.
Bill Law reporting from Bahrain. Tomorrow night, Sue Lloyd-Roberts continues our series looking back on the Arab Spring, reporting on the horrifying practice of female genital mutilation in Egypt. Despite a campaign to eradicate it, she finds it widespread with little